What's up, everyone? So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. As you can see, I have Tim with me.
What's up, everybody?
And today we're going to talk about some news that came out of San Diego Comic-Con 2019. But this is also going to be introducing a new format that we have going forward as far as us introducing and announcing right here, right now, our podcast.
Yes.
So this is more or less the format we're going to have. It's not going to look like this. Is still like the very early stages of the podcast, but this is like the format. We want to get you guys used to it, where it's going to be more conversational. Me and him are just talk about like geeky things, but we're eventually going to be on a set.
Yes.
We're going to have cool collectibles, maybe a logo here.
We're going to be building out a set. We're going to have all kinds of new segments, and we're going to be bringing on some guests, some comic book creators, just talk comics and all things that we think are fun or funny.
Just have some more conversational stuff, just like, you know, a new trailer hits. We're like, we want to talk about it. Podcast.
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
And unlike today, that will be live.
Yes.
And then it will go up for you to either listen to on the podcast channels or watch on our YouTube channel. So it's going to be live, so we'll be interacting with you guys too. So it's just going to be a lot of fun all the way around. And this was just kind of like us giving you the first taste of that instead of just doing the normal episode.
So we're still going to be doing all that stuff. This is obviously just going to be additional content. The podcast is going to be on top of everything else we do, all the normal episodes, your Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday episodes.
Yes.
So with that said, though, lots of Comic-Con news, but comics, that's our bread and butter. That's what we love most around here. So we're going to start off by talking with some of the new comics that were announced at Comic-Con.
Let's dive in.
All right, so we're going to start with Marvel. First up, we have X-Men. We got some new X-Men comics today.
New X-Men comics.
Okay, so
it's a slew of new X-Men comics, by the way.
6, to be exact, right?
Six unless you're counting the 2 books that are going to be leading off the new run.
Then we got 8.
So it's House of X and Powers of X, and they're going to be kicking off in July.
So it's going to be written by Jonathan Hickman, which I'm sure a lot of people love because he's done a lot of great stuff, like Avengers, I guess is one of the things I like most about some of the stuff I like most that he's done.
Yeah, he had a huge influence. Like what he did with the Avengers series had a huge influence on the MCU, especially with the Infinity Saga. So it kind of feels a lot like that's what they're planning for this one, right?
Yeah, it's well, the biggest thing that I think, and I know you're going to agree because we've talked about this, because we were talking about this all like weekend long with all as the news and stuff was coming out. So there's 6 new titles. I guess we should tell them what those 6 new titles are. So we got X-Men, which is going to be written by Hickman. New Mutants, also Hickman. Then we have Fallen Angels, Excalibur, Marauders, and X-Force.
X-Force, yeah.
But going back to what I was just saying, we were talking that it very much seems like they're revamping or rebooting all of their X-Men titles.
All of it.
Because they're going to bring the X-Men in.
What was the big change?
They're going to bring the X-Men into the MCU.
It's like, what a coincidence. Disney buys Fox, gets X-Men, gets Deadpool, and all of a sudden,
they like wipe out all of the X-Men comics.
Stop,
like,
cancel all X-Men series, start brand new. And Hickman is literally talking about, he went in and he pitched to the executives over at Marvel, this brand new, this is how you fix X-Men. It's pretty much the same thing that he did with both Fantastic Four and the Avengers.
I'm also wondering,
kind of
like,
the same concept.
At this level, since everything's so like tightly woven together with Marvel Studios and Marvel Comics, because they basically like, Marvel Comics has kind of been predicting in a way what the MCU is going to do in the future. So I'm wondering even if like Kevin Feige and whatnot are even in on those meetings to some extent. You would have to think it has to line up.
It's so synergistic.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it all ties in so closely together. And even though the MCU, it's never a direct interpretation.
No.
You're never seeing them pull exactly what's in the comics.
Right.
But they're pulling huge chunks now, especially of the newer stuff. Like Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Like what they're doing with Captain Marvel is a great example of that.
For sure. So I'm very, well, you know, Dan Slott just recently rebooted Fantastic Four.
Yes.
So that, because we're going to talk about this later, all the movie Marvel Studio stuff.
We're going to get to all that MCU.
But Blade is obviously, he's getting a movie as well, but they've been pushing him a lot lately in the comics as well. So they're like foreshadowing all this.
Coincidence? No.
But in the short of it, for X-Men fans, we're going to be getting 6 new titles.
Yeah.
Jonathan
6 new titles, 2 lead-ups.
Yes.
And Hickman literally was quoted as saying the 2 books that they're writing, the House of X and the Powers of X, those are going to set the tone and the messaging for all the books after it. Not just for the audience, but also for the writers of those other books.
And something he also said, which is going to be huge, is they're going to be great jumping on points for a long time or new X-Men fans. So if you've always wanted to get into like the New Mutants or Wolverine or any of them, this is going to be your opportunity.
Because apparently they're going to even get into like some origins.
Yes.
They're going to get into some origins, some backstories. Yeah, so it looks like they might even be changing some X-Men mythos.
I'm wondering if they're going to be rebooting and stuff like that.
It's if nothing else, X-Men fans should be super curious as about where this is going.
I mean, X-Men fans are kind of lucky right now, just as far as comics go, because there's so many X-Men titles. Even currently, there's just X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold, X-Men like Rainbow. I don't even know. There's just like there's so many colors for the X-Men titles.
And with the X-Men too, I think and I was reading a little bit. Probably got way too deep into this, but Hickman, one of the things they were saying was that Hickman, he went in almost like a script doctor.
Oh, okay.
And was pitching to Marvel like, this is what you've been doing wrong, and this is how you fix it.
This is how you do it.
You know, and some of that was like that the X-Men, all of the more recent X-Men titles have been almost dealing too much and delving too much into nostalgia and hearkening back to older stories that are leaning too much on that. Yeah, and I guess he's saying no. We need something brand new. Inject some fresh blood.
But I mean, we got lots to talk about. So let's move on. Moving on. Still with Marvel, we got Star Wars. Some cool Star Wars news.
Star Wars.
First one up, which I know I'm super excited about, but I think you're more excited about it than even I am. Is Kylo Ren, Knights of Ren.
I am
Charles Soule.
I love Charles Soule. He's been doing great work.
Yeah, he's super nice dude too.
He's great.
Yeah, we met him at Comic-Con like several times.
Super down to earth guy. Him and Scott Snyder are super tight.
Yeah,
and both
they go jogging together. Yeah, they tweet it out like all the time.
It's like their Comic-Con tradition. It's hilarious. But yeah, he's taking over the Kylo Ren Knights of Ren, and it's going to be giving us. It's like like they've been doing with a lot of the movies in the in their books. It's a supplemental to the movie, but it's going to tell us more in depth of how Kylo went from.
Because we got that tease in Force Awakens, I believe, where you see the Knights of Ren briefly, but I do hope that we still get to see that talked about or addressed in the last. The Rise of the Skywalker.
I think we have to, because the Knights of Ren is confirmed to appear in the Rise of Skywalker, the movie, in December. So I think it's got to be.
Right?
It's got to be just like a completing the story. So we're going to get a portion of the story in the movie, and then the rest of it is going to be in this comic book series, which also releases in December, because Marvel's got to sell comic books.
I'm very, very curious to see how it's going to tie into the movie.
I tweeted out on Saturday, or the other day, that they put this at least in really good hands with Charles Soule.
But going off that, we got another Star Wars book, which is going to be Rise of the Skywalker, or Rise of Skywalker.
The prequel book.
Yes, a prequel. So that's going to be really cool, because much like...
Again, because Marvel's got to sell comic books.
Well, they've been doing this since like Force Awakens, because with C-3PO, they explained in a comic book how he got his right arm. Because in Force Awakens, we see he's got a right arm. No explanation. They explained in the book. So it seems like that's what they're doing here, where they're giving us prequels, but then they're also explaining stuff after the fact, which is really cool. I just hope, again, because everyone knows I love comic books. That's like my favorite form of storytelling, comic books, right? But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but like since Star Wars did start as a movie, I also do want to see all that stuff cross over into the movies as well and be addressed.
You want to see the live action version of those characters, especially the cool moments.
For sure. Yes.
You know what I mean? I think we need to see some really cool reveals going forward, because say what you want. You loved it, you hated it. Last Jedi, Force Awakens, people had their issues with Force Awakens. A lot of people had their issues with The Last Jedi. But, there just needs to be, I think, better and cooler backstory detail on some of these characters, like Kylo Ren. Because a big part of the complaint, right, about Kylo Ren, about Rey, is that...
You don't know much about their backstory.
Yeah, they just show up on the scene and they got all these power and they can do all these things, defeat and fight Luke Skywalker and all of these sorts of things.
I'm one of the ones who,
nobody knows how.
I feel like Kylo Ren's character is kind of split, where people really like him, or people call him a Darth Vader ripoff, or like a whiny little kid. Yeah. But I love him. I think he looks really cool.
I do too.
I like what I've seen from him in the movies thus far.
Yeah, I have no problem. I mean, he does get a little bit punk emo at times. A little bit too heavy.
That speaks to my roots. That's I used to be like a hardcore band.
Just need to give him a guitar, and he's like one of your band buddies. But yeah, I think he's a cool character, and I'm very excited about the Knights of Ren concept. I think that could be, because it has like a tinge of that old Republic, right?
Yes.
Like it has a little bit of that feel,
which we know we're kind of digging those movies later on.
Oh, don't get me started.
If you go to well, I know you know because we talked about it. Galaxy's Edge, where you can make your own lightsaber.
Yes.
You know they have an Old Republic lightsaber kit.
I do.
And it has, you can get like a tooth
I won't
on
be
it or
spending the
whatever.
$200 anytime soon. You know what? I was going to say,
What?
I was surprised we didn't get any more Star Wars news at Comic-Con, but then
D23 is coming up.
It's coming up in August,
sure.
so we're going to get done there. So.
All right, so let's move on again, but we're going to go to DC, because now we got some DC news.
Well, we got
we got one more. We got one more Marvel. We got one more. I lied, guys. I lied to all of you. We have one more Marvel title to talk about, the Amazing Mary Jane title. So Mary Jane is getting her own comic book. It's kind of simple as that.
Kind of
cut and dry.
Straight to the point.
If you like Mary Jane, which I'm sure it's kind of like you either like Gwen Stacy, you're like Team Gwen Stacy or Team Mary Jane. You know, I don't know, but I have it pulled up. Leah Williams. Of Age of X-Men Extremists and Giant Man fame. So yes, that's who's writing it. And I mean, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna at least read the first issue because Mary Jane. You know, I do like Gwen Stacy a lot. She was, you know, with the whole Green Goblin thing and her whole death. I think she has the biggest impact as far as like a romantic relationship with Spider-Man.
Right.
In the Marvel Spider-Man universe. But I mean, who doesn't like Mary Jane? It's like,
that's
face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot. Yeah, right. You just hit the jackpot. Yeah. So it's like
she's the classic love interest, right?
So whenever they release something on a character that's like that iconic and that I've loved since I was a kid, Spider-Man the animated series and all that stuff, it's like I gotta at least read the first issue.
You have to.
So you know, hopefully it's awesome.
I mean, now with Spider-Man on the big screen again, and you know, kind of in full swing.
We got a different version of MJ.
Yeah, we got
on the
a
big
very
screen.
different version of MJ. Yep. It's because there's a lot of people that ask, is that MJ, or are we gonna get
like
a full
the red-headed MJ,
an actual Mary Jane at some point?
I don't know. That'd be kind of weird to have two different MJs.
Yeah, I lean that's not going to happen.
Yeah, plus it
would be a very odd move to undo.
I like this quirky kind of relation, like cute relationship, like Peter has with this MJ, where where the comic book MJ was like the supermodel and stuff like that. I kind of I like what they're doing. It's a cool take on the MJ character.
And MCU, they like to have their own little spin on things.
Yeah. But now we're gonna move to DC. So now we got some DC stuff.
DC.
We got
some big DC stuff.
Some big one. This one I'm super excited for.
And as usual, it involves Scott Snyder.
Per use.
Like what else? Who else would it be?
So Scott Snyder, everyone knows, like the mastermind, Batman, Metal, just you name it.
Court of Owls.
Just name it.
I mean. On and on.
Yeah, the Dark Multiverse, which is what this is. So Scott Snyder is co-writing a comic book with Kyle Higgins from, everyone knows him from Power Rangers, New 52 Nightwing, so on and so forth, and lots of great stuff. He is doing a comic book called Tales of the Dark Multiverse, Batman Knightfall.
Incredible.
It is essentially, it's being described as essentially like DC's What If version for their story. So this is going to be adapting the famous Knightfall storyline, where Jean-Paul Valley took over for Batman. But in this story, it's going to be what happens if Batman wasn't able to take the Batman mantle back from him after that, he was recouping from having his back broken by Bane. So, again, it's a what-if story with the Dark Multiverse and Knightfall and Batman, obviously, Scott Snyder, Kyle Higgins, the concept art.
Oh, man.
Dude, Azrael has always been one of my favorite Batman characters.
I mean, just the Dark Multiverse concept. The ability, so cool. they literally just kicked the door wide open that allowed you to go in and explore any kind and version of Batman Bruce Wayne that you want. That you can think of, imagine. It's just a genius move on Scott Snyder's part.
And the takes they've come up with are just like Red Death, obviously the Batman Who Laughs, who go on out. They're just so clever. Like really, even the origin, the designs are cool.
And when you look at Knightfall, I mean, you look at this guy. I mean, it's literally a medieval knight version of Batman.
Dude, yes.
But like the gothic look, it's just dope.
It's Scott Snyder and Kyle Higgins teaming up together.
Yeah, man.
Dude, like.
And who would have guessed that, right?
I don't.
Who would have said, oh, you know what's probably coming? A book with Scott Snyder and Kyle Higgins.
Dude, and they're both obviously are, Scott Snyder clearly, he's like the Batman guy. But Kyle Higgins, he's Nightwing. He had one of the best titles from the New 52. Yeah. So that is going to, in his Power Rangers with Boom, he's the guy who kicked it off. Everyone is loving that title. The Power Rangers comic book is great.
So it's not really surprising that he's there, but it's just such a cool combo.
But I want more of it because I know this is probably going to be good because again, Scott Snyder, Kyle Higgins.
Right.
I want more. I want them to just keep going. just go with it.
Well, I mean, because Scott, this is going to be like one of Scott Snyder's 57 books that he's writing simultaneously.
Yeah.
Because he also has the American Vampires that he's coming back. It was another round.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's still on Justice League. They've got the
so good.
the villains.
Justice League.
Yeah. I mean, all these different things that are going on, and he just keeps expanding that universe. And it's just like, how far are they going to go with it, man?
I just want to see his whiteboard. Like for
Right?
all the books he's working on for Marvel, Image, Independent,
Oh
whatever.
my gosh.
Just how he maps and keeps his head straight.
Yeah, they're little.
Year of the Villain? He's doing Year of the
Yeah,
Villain?
the Year of the Villain. That's what I mean. I love how much he's creating and leaving behind for the next person that follows
for
him.
sure. He's
Right?
leaving all those toys in the sandbox.
Such a
Yeah.
huge playground for the next few writers really,
For sure.
to come in and to play with those tools and characters and stuff like that. It's just, whoever that is going to be, they're going to love them some Scott Snyder.
Very, very cool. Yeah, so clearly we both are very excited for that.
Yeah.
But talking about Year of the Villain, which he's one of the masterminds behind, we have some really, really cool news. This is really, really cool.
This one's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This one really shocked me a little bit.
So whether you're a fan of horror or not, you've heard of the Halloween franchise. You've heard of The Thing franchise. It's got many of reboots and stuff.
Classic Hollywood.
Yeah, like horror films. And who's the mastermind behind that? John Carpenter. And he is going to be writing a Joker Year of the Villain 40-page one-shot. It's insane. And the art for it, I believe it's Philip Tan. Yes, Philip Tan is doing it, or at least the cover.
Like, as soon as you say it out loud, you're like,
Carpenter.
God, that's going to be dark.
Like, he's working on the Joker.
Twisted.
Yeah, because he's
But
already...
it's the perfect character for him to come on
for
and
sure.
do. I wonder if this is like something he's always wanted to do, and they finally gave him the opportunity to do it.
Because the Joker, much like Batman or Spider-Man or Superman, like, is one of those characters that it seems like any established writer or creative wants to do their take of that character. Because the Joker's so iconic and he could be done so many times, it never gets old. They're like, I want to do like my Joker story.
Yeah, or you hear them say things like, I've always wanted to, what I mean? I've always had this idea and I've always wanted to do it. I wonder if that's what this is for him, kind of a book, because John Carpenter's been around forever.
For sure. But it also is like this, I would imagine it's Year of the Villain. It's a Year of the Villain Joker story. So it has to tie into Scott Snyder and all the Year of the Villain stuff that's going on. So he's got to be obviously a fan of what's going on with DC right now too. So that's really intriguing, because this is not going to be like he's doing his own version of the Joker or origin story. This is going to tie into the Year of the Villain. So I'm very curious to see where this is going to go.
At the very least, every fan of Batman and the Joker is gonna want to see this just out of sheer morbid. What's the release date on that? Do we know the release date on that? Did they drop that?
October.
So this is going to be probably coinciding with the release of the Joker movie then.
Yes.
Or roundabout.
Which coincidence?
So like the whole coincidence. No. So that, I mean, like the month of October is going to be like Joker Central.
Yes. It's going to be DC Central, really, because that's, I think, also when the Year of the Villain is really going to be, I mean, it's all kind of culminating and starting now with all the pre-stuff, but that's when it's really going to hit hard.
Dude, that's dope for Halloween, around October.
Yeah.
Villains Month,
Villains Month. But speaking of Halloween and horror, John Carpenter, if that wasn't enough, they also were able to wrangle in Joe Hill. Who, for those of you who don't know, is Stephen King's son, who's also an amazing writer in his own right. He's done like Horns, lots of awesome novels.
Yeah, he's done several graphic novels that have been pretty popular. A lot of them have full-on cult followings.
For sure.
But he's very much his father's son, and he's got some incredible writing chops. And to see him come on to a DC book, that just sparks all kinds of like, what's that gonna be?
Well, the one that I believe he's doing 2 titles, because it's basically it seems like it's a subline where it's called Hill House. Mm-hmm. So he's like overseeing all of it, but will be writing let's see here, if I pulled up Basket Full of Heads, essentially he described it as basically there's this mythical axe, which when you chop someone's head off with it, their head still can talk and whatnot.
Oh,
is how I heard it.
So disturbing.
Is how I heard it described, and I believe
that's pretty cool.
This girl comes in possession of said axe, and on the cover she's holding a basket full of heads. So where's it gonna go from there? We're gonna find out.
So she's carrying around, just so I understand this correctly, The concept is a girl who's going around with a mythical axe, chopping heads off, and then carrying around the talking alive heads.
I mean, loosely. I'm sure it's not that basic, but like magic axe, heads that talk, girl, that.
That's one of those bizarre summaries,
but
like a synopsis that you read and you go, oh, now I just gotta see.
It sounds awesome. And they also announced they're going to be doing the Dollhouse Family, which is another title they're going to be doing, the Lolo Woods, and the Plunge, and they all sound great. Like if you're a fan of horror comics and stuff like that, this sounds because anyone who reads horror comics, they're very different. They're not drawn like superhero comics.
Right.
Like
totally different.
They have that gritty kind of feel to it.
Very much so.
Have a horror feel to it.
Yeah.
And I'm all about that. It's just kind of hard to find.
There's like a macabre to all of it.
Yes. Yeah. So, and it's hard to find good horror comics. I mean, there are good ones out there, but you have to dig because they're usually independent. They're not really so mainstream like superheroes and all that stuff
Very
like
much
that.
So
this is really cool to kind of bring that to the light because if these are good and they're received well, I'm sure it'll force people to dive more for this genre.
And you're kind of seeing a trend with DC too, where you're seeing them dive in deeper into this kind of dark, like with Deceased, right? Yes. So and the Black Label. They're kind of getting into, and you're seeing it on their television shows and their movies too, where they're kind of going more towards this kind of darker, more adult, heavier-handed content.
I really like what DC's been doing as far as I know. Vertigo? That's not a word. Vertigo. Vertigo is no longer around because now it's pretty much the Black Label. Yep. But I like how they have 3 groups now. So you have like the normal DC universe, the normal DC universe, Black Label, and then their kid division. So for parents, it's really cool to know. It's like, oh no. So if you're like a teen, you read the normal stuff. Adult, you're not gonna read any Black Label stuff. If you're like your kid. Yeah. So it's good you kind of know that way.
It is good to have that separation.
Right, where because before it kind of blended, you didn't really know really well.
And their regular books, their mainline books, they're kind of going back to that more traditional, Superman as a Boy Scout, that lighthearted. The books are more about hope and all that kind of
I was geeking out so hard in Heroes of Crisis. I know that comic is very 50-50. I kind of liked it because of Wally West. We'll get into that in probably a different episode. I liked what Tom King did with Wally West. I know it's polarized. Anyway, in that series, though, Tom King brought back the Truth, Justice, and American Way speech.
Yes.
And I was nerdy. I got like goosebumps. The nerd in me was just like, because that's old school Americana Superman.
Yep, man.
You know
me. You know me. I'm a sucker for that too. So you give me some of that Truth, Justice, and American Way.
Like that Christopher Reeve Superman where it just makes you happy.
Yeah. Kids might not get it, but we do.
I just heard the John Williams score.
Yeah, exactly. Which, by the way, is better than the Zack Snyder.
The Hans Zimmer
version.
Uh-oh.
I said it. I said it right here.
That's very
right
polarized.
Here on Variant Comics.
Although I do follow the John Williams score as well. Yes.
All right, let's everybody we'll have this full conversation on another day because I got a lot to say about that topic.
But that brings an end to the comics. There was lots more comic news and stuff announced, but that was the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge 4-day show. There's just no way for us to get to all of it. These were the
sure.
biggest ones. The most notable.
Yeah, the ones that caught our eye. Yeah. So, but that brings us to TV. There was lots of TV news.
So much TV.
First one up. This one is pretty much all you. I'm a fan of the franchise.
Yeah.
But I didn't grow up with it as much as you did, and that's going to be Dark Crystal: Rise of the Resistance.
Guys, I'm going to tell you something right now. I am a massive Jim Henson fan. Arris knows that is a huge fandom for me. Is Muppets. Jim Henson was a visionary.
For sure.
He was just a genius.
There's a reason why Disney wanted
and
it.
It's such a that practical puppetry. You hear a lot of people say, why didn't they use CG for all this stuff? Why didn't they go digital? And for some elements of it, they did. Mm-hmm. But it's an art form.
For sure, yeah.
And sadly, it's kind of one, and I'm hoping this revitalizes it because they have made so many advancements. The Henson Studios, they're still there, man. They're still cranking. And they've made so many advancements on the puppetry and the different technologies they use that it's just such a beautiful art form. And this looks so good. The cast is crazy.
It is. But it's also like one of those things where, because there is people saying, well, why don't you do it like CGI or what? It's like, then it wouldn't be what it is.
Exactly right.
It wouldn't be like the Jim Henson. Like it's
you
not
would be
the point.
Taking so much away from it.
For sure.
if you went and you just made another CG, film where all the characters aren't real or it's just somebody in a mocap suit.
Right.
This is a very specific style. And more than that, I think probably most importantly, this was one of Jim Henson's babies.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This was one of his
huge cult following.
Yeah, this is a storyline that he loved, that he worked very hard on. He really struggled to get this made because a lot of people thought it was too dark and all these kinds of things. But
leave it to Netflix to be like, we got it.
Yeah, because there's a cult following that's stayed with that story for all these decades for a reason. And I'm so happy to see Netflix bring it back, and it looks awesome. The cast is great. I cannot wait to see it. Yeah, they screened the first episode.
They did.
We didn't get to see it, which makes me sad.
I'm super. Again, I'm not nearly as big of a fan of it as Tim is, but I'm definitely excited to see it because I do love Jim Henson in general. Like I grew up on like Sesame Street, even the '90s, the Turtle movies. Though people don't know, but Jim Henson Studios made those live-action turtle suits.
Star Wars, guys.
Yeah, Star Wars, Yoda.
So. I mean, there's so many of the Jim Henson had his hands in so many of the practical elements that went on in especially the '80s, early '90s.
But that
pouring out for my homie.
But we're kind of flipping here because the next thing we're going to talk about, I know you like but didn't grow up with, wasn't as close to your heart as it is mine.
Totally different. Yeah.
And that is Batman Beyond is getting a Blu-ray release.
Yeah.
And I could not be more excited.
Now,
I'm so excited.
To preface, I did watch it.
No, yes.
I did watch it. I just, Batman the Animated Series was my jam.
Okay.
That was my...
No, that was my jam, Tim. It was our jam.
I don't even touch you on that front, and I was a huge fan. Batman the Animated Series was like the one that I obsessed over as a kid. I was like teenage years.
Yeah.
But Batman Beyond still amazing.
For sure, and it's getting a Blu-ray release, special edition in October. It's gonna come with a bunch of some special features. It's gonna come with like litho cards, an exclusive Chrome Funko Pop of Batman Beyond, and then just all the episodes in HD glory.
Except for
11 episodes.
This was a wild story.
Yes. So apparently, 11 episodes of this series will not be in HD. Now you may be asking, why the heck are they not going to be in HD? Why would you give us all the other episodes in the Blu-ray box set HD, but not these 11 episodes? Well, apparently, Warner Brothers lost the original files for said 11 episodes, and they only had the backup files, meaning they couldn't restore them to full HD glory.
Which is insane.
So it is just crazy to think that like Warner Brothers, their vault, their archives,
they lost
the masters for 11 episodes.
Yeah, that's wild.
And not only that, like Batman, this
somebody got fired
for sure because this is Batman. Anything Batman and Warner Brothers has got to be like, this is Batman, high priority. This is one of our most money-making character. Save that. Have backups.
I wonder if they did have that foresight, right? I wonder if they did know at the time, or if they were just like, it's just a stupid kid's cartoon. Who cares?
Dude, no. Oh, man.
Put in the file in the dark room in the back.
I love this series with all my heart because, again, I just love the Bruce Timm-verse in general, all the DC animated. Batman animated series kicked it off, but then we got, Batman Beyond, Static Shock, Superman animated series.
It really did. It kicked off like an entire genre.
So good. And much like I got Batman the Animated Series on box set, it may or may not already be pre-ordered in my Amazon account.
I wonder. There's never a doubt. If anything, Batman the Animated Series, any of the animated series, or Batman Beyond comes out, I don't even have to ask. But by the time I hear about it, I know you've already bought it.
It's so funny because like my wife hears this stuff gets announced and she goes,
how much?
She knows. Yeah, she just knows.
She's already checking it off the budget.
Because like I'll tell her now. Like I already told her, I'll be like, so like in October, like $90 may be taken out of our account for this.
She's like, gone. That's $100 I can't count on.
But yeah, needless to say, I am super, super excited, and I can't wait. Batman Beyond, my baby, one of my babies. but moving on, because again, lots to talk about. More TV. Witcher trailer,
dude. The Witcher surprised me. I'm gonna be honest.
That looks good.
I wasn't sure what we were gonna get, and when I saw the trailer, I was really pleasantly surprised.
It looks like an amalgamation of like Game of Thrones with like
it meets like Warcraft.
Yes, something like yes.
I mean, it's Warcraft might be an exaggeration, but it's dark
because it's got that like medieval but all that fantasy elements of like Lord of the Rings,
just a lot of
Warcraft.
Monsters and witches and magic, and I mean all the things that you want to hear in a sentence, right?
And then just Cavill. Can we talk about how he's more jacked in this than he was in Superman?
Yes! How is he bigger in The Witcher than he was to play the Man of Steel? That dude, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to say it. I'd have his baby. I'm just going to say that right here. That dude is huge.
Dude,
he
insane.
Looks just bulked up beyond belief
he's
for this show.
He's what I like to call goals. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Goals.
If only life goals.
His arm is the size of my head.
But it looks really interesting. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, it looks fun. But I will caveat it with a sense where it does look like it can go either way. It looks like it'd be really awesome or like, oh, that's a little
it definitely, well, it's kind of in that category.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of falls into that category of show where it's like, wow, that looks like it could be really cool, and then it just the trailer was the best part. Yeah, but sometimes by the end of the year we should have The Witcher.
But speaking of dopeness, so everyone knows the CW shows, right? You got Arrow, Flash, DC Legends of Tomorrow, Batwoman's coming out, Supergirl, yada yada yada, right? So they're new every year. They do a big crossover event. They take all the CW shows, all the CW verse or Arrowverse shows they have, and they mash them all together and do a crossover event into this big cool event. This year, it's going to be Crisis on Infinite Earths. But at Comic-Con, we got two big reveals about it. First one is that Brandon Routh, who plays the Atom in DC Legends of Tomorrow, who is a former Superman Returns fame, in this crossover event will be playing Kingdom Come Superman.
Which is so unexpected.
It is
so unexpected.
But the most brilliant
It was a brilliant move.
They could do. How long
because Superman Returns got so panned by so many people that it was when you heard that Brandon Routh was coming back as Superman, you were like, okay, cool, but why would they put Superman Returns in there? Kind of, you know what I mean? But then that was like a pretty cool entry.
And it kind of speaks to what I've been pitching for I've been talking to you. I was about
to give you credit.
So one of my theories of things I've been saying Warner Brothers should do for a while now is, since we've had a bunch of Batman movies, we've had even the Green Lantern movie, we have Christopher Reeve's Superman, we've had lots of DC movies over the years. It's just recently they're trying to do the DCU and Connected Universe. But what if, in a movie where Flash is running through the time stream or something in a future DCU movie, we see him running through the time stream and we see Keaton Batman, Reeves Superman, Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, saying it all exists. It's just part of the multiverse.
Right.
And that's the most brilliant thing, because this is Crisis on Infinite Earths, so it's going to be dealing with the multiverse and all that stuff, and that's what they're doing. They're like, oh yeah, Brendan Routh was Superman, and now he's Kingdom Come Superman in this other multiverse, in this reality.
And you again, he called, this is a theory he had for probably a good 8-9 months now.
I kind of feel proud. I'm
you should, because you did have that idea long before we heard about this, and it really just opens the door for a whole bunch of potential.
For sure.
There's so many different things you can do with that. And what a cool concept to tie it all together.
But the fans are
just say it was all real.
Yes.
Just in different.
Because how much would us fans just be geeking out? If you imagine that montage, you see freaking Flash, and you're like, oh,
dude, Michael Keaton Batman?
Dude, even Val Kilmer Batman. I'll take it, all of it. I want it all.
Jim Carrey, you're going to take Jim Carrey Riddler?
I'll take it.
I will take
if it's part of
I will take
5940.
Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face right freaking now.
It's in a different Earth, whatever. It exists.
It happened.
But the second announcement they made kind of still plays to that. I don't know if he's going to be reprising his original role that he played in 66, but Burt Ward, Robin from the 66 Batman series, is also going to appear in this crossover.
It's so good. It's so good. I read this and I was like, that's it. We can all stop now. We can go. You're bringing back Burt Ward from the 60s Batman.
So awesome.
That is, I don't even know how they're going to pull it off. Dude, I wonder if we'll get any semblance of Adam West's Batman.
I was going to say, what makes me sad is if Adam West was still alive, he totally would have been in this as well.
He would have been. Totally, it would have been like the greatest day of his life.
The greatest day of our lives.
Because that was what we all loved about Adam West, right? Is he loved.
Yes, he was like a ham with it too. He ate it up.
He loved it. He loved being Batman for the fans. He just loved being part of the space.
But also, he was going back to Batman the Animated Series. He's the voice of Grey Ghost. Yes. He is Grey Ghost. So putting it back, he loves going back into the.
You're touching some nostalgia buttons now, buddy.
He loves going back into that, and he definitely would have, and they would have asked him back. They would be idiots not to.
100%. Yeah.
So
because the fans love him.
Yeah.
For good reason. Yeah. The fans loved him.
So but we are getting this, so that's gonna be fun.
Again, I can't wait to see how they do it.
But staying in the CW verse, we also got some Flash season 6 news. The villain for season 6 is gonna be Bloodwork. Insane.
And congratulations to Josh Williamson, man. Seriously.
Dude, you're doing some work.
Yeah, because we before he really got onto the DC books, we had the opportunity to sit down with him, talk to him. We had him on the show a couple of times.
For sure.
And a great guy, super fun to talk comics with, but he back then, before he got on the DC, he would tell us about ideas that he had.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
And just so it's really cool to see now him have all these characters break through,
which is freaking crazy. Godspeed already appeared in season 5 for a bit. He's also going to come back in season 6. So he's got 2 characters in season 6.
Yeah, man.
Godspeed, which one of the best speedster characters in like the last decade, easily.
Our boy living the dream.
And now Bloodwork, another character. But it's just, I've told this story to like friends and stuff. I don't think we've ever said it on the show or I've ever said it on the show. But like when we did the Who's the Fastest Flash episode, since he's been writing the Flash for the last several years, I actually shot him an email. Like, yo, bro, you're writing the Flash. Who's the fastest Flash? You tell me.
Yeah.
And he was like, Wally. And then
we did quote him.
We did quote him. Yes, that's right. Okay, we did say that in the episode. So it was like, if anyone's gonna know who the fastest Flash is, it's gonna be the guy who's
recreating the Flash.
Right. Yeah. So and then he actually officially released that statement in that Walmart DC book that ranked all the speedsters or all the fast characters in the DC universe.
Which kind of like went by quietly.
Yeah, we did an episode on it.
And it's like nobody really talked about that much.
I don't know.
Which was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Because they ranked them. And some of them were like odd placements.
They were. It was actually kind of weird seeing like Cheeto was really high up there. It was kind of shocking to me. But we got some more more TV news. Power Rangers. So everyone knows. Are you a big Power Rangers fan, Tim?
I'm not.
You're not a big Power Rangers fan? Okay, I'm a big Power Rangers fan. I've said it several times. There was a good like 2 to 3 years where I liked Power Rangers more than I liked superheroes.
Right.
Like the Mighty Morphin era, the Turbo Zeo, like that was my jam. Anyway, Power Rangers has never stopped. It's had multiple seasons, still going on right now at Beast Morphers. We're getting season 2 of Beast Morphers soon. So every now and then, since the Power Rangers have been going on for so long, they like to throw Legacy Rangers into the mix. So some original OG like Mighty Morphin Rangers and stuff. We had the Master Morpher introduced a season or 2 ago with Jason David Frank. Everyone knows him. He's like the Power Ranger guy in the Power Ranger franchise. But point is, we're getting another very loved Legacy Ranger in season 2 of Beast Morphers, who's going to be making his return, and that is the original Red Ranger, Jason. And I am so excited.
You are too excited.
I'm so excited because
you are too excited about this.
Forever Red. The Power Ranger fans know what I'm talking about. Forever Red. That's all that matters.
Listen, I respect it. I got my Jim Henson rant out, so I respect it.
But it's really cool because St. Austin John, the guy who plays Jason the Red Ranger, hasn't been in the franchise for several years. I believe, don't quote me on this, I know I could be wrong, but I believe the last time he was in the Power Ranger franchise was for Zeo when he played the Gold Ranger. The last I checked. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the last time he was in it. So it's been years. That was a long time ago. So for him to finally come back around and reprise his role as the original Red Ranger, yes.
That's commitment. That's commitment to a franchise.
So I'm just super excited. And it's also opening the doors for like, are we going to see other? I mean, we have over the years, but I want more. Keep giving us some Legacy Rangers.
Honestly, I think it's falling. It's we're seeing it across the board. We've talked about it so many times. Like our generations, we love our stuff.
Yeah.
Right. We are some of the most nostalgic generations in world history.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just seeing, and these companies, the studios, and even down to toy companies.
Yeah.
They get it. They're now understanding.
They're taking our money.
The power and how much our generations are willing to fork out some cash
for sure
to get some nostalgia. And the Power Rangers, this is, I think, no different. So you're going to see like that whole thing that we saw about that teaser with the Bat and the Sun guys that they're doing with the Power Rangers.
Yes, the White Dragon.
The White Dragon.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Right? That looks really, really cool.
So but that kind of touches on that nostalgia of the people that watch the original Rangers, and they're people your age, man.
Yeah.
I guess probably my age too.
For sure. I'm still a big. I don't watch like the new seasons of Power Rangers, but I still love me like all the like the Mighty Morphers.
My boys do. My boys love it,
dude.
Yeah,
it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. Like we've been saying, we've been doing more Power Rangers episodes because like I thoroughly enjoy them, so it's just fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Who likes Rick and Morty? Most people.
That's a large base.
Yeah, that's a large.
That's a lot. There's a lot of yeses just there.
Is one of my favorite cartoons, and I will say adult cartoon because it's very much in like that Simpsons, like Futurama, Family Guy, 100%. Where you're not going to show this to like your 8-year-old. But we've had a little bit of a lull between season 3 and season 4, but we got an official, I don't say trailer or clip. We got footage, a teaser for season 4, and it looks just as funny as the first 3 seasons. It is just such a fun, like, it's one of those shows where you just want to, like, it's mindless, nonsensical humor that's clever and witty, but, like, it's just still makes no sense. You know what I mean? It's just fun.
Rick and Morty.
So I'm very, very excited for this. I actually have, like, a prop in my office because I love this show so much.
Is
like
it Pickle Rick?
A plumbus.
Oh, a plumbus.
A plumbus, yes.
So
a plumbus can do anything.
So admittedly,
a plumbus can do anything.
I don't know. I don't watch Rick and Morty,
dude. If you don't have a plumbus,
I've seen Rick and Morty, but I'm not a Rick and Morty regular. He is. So he's talking about plumbus, and I was like, what the frick is a plumbus?
Dude,
I don't know.
It could do anything. Literally anything.
I'll take your word for it.
You know?
I'll take your word for it.
Everyone watches the show. They know. They're like, yeah. That's the joke with it. It's this weird freaking thing.
I'm just gonna have to watch the show. He knows. I have like I watch usually one show at a time, and I watch it, and then it's done, and then I watch another show because I don't have a ton of time. But I'm gonna have to watch the show because everybody talks about it. I don't get the jokes.
Yeah. So we got a teaser for season 4, but the creators also said that there's going to be a shorter gap in between seasons now. So we're not going to have, it's not going to be like an every other year.
Well, they took some major flack, man.
Yeah.
They were taking some heat.
Yeah, because it was taking a while to get the season, it took a while to get season 3 out, and now it's taking a while to get season 4 out. But they said after this going forward, season 5, 6, so on and so forth, shorter gaps. So the last bit of TV news we have to talk about is from Batwoman. So they announced that a major Batman villain will be making his appearance in Batwoman season 1. And that is Thomas Elliott, a.k.a. Hush, one of the most famous Batman villains of all time. Batman Hush is getting an animated movie, which I believe is releasing this week or last week. I think it's out.
It's this week.
It's this week. Okay.
I don't get it. I have a problem with this one.
Okay. Why?
And we touched on it briefly earlier. I have a problem with this. I don't understand why they take these massive, iconic Batman villains and they're putting them in these sideshows like Batwoman.
Yes.
Instead of introducing them into Batman-based content first, and then it carries on into these, where we've never seen Hush in a Batman series.
No, not live action.
No.
For sure. So it is I agree.
I mean, we don't even have a solid Batman live action series.
No, well, we're
getting Batwoman and all these other things before we're getting a Batman
point.
series.
It speaks to Batman's rogues gallery, the fact that they're so good and can live on their own that they could live outside of the Batman universe. But it is kind of annoying because Arrow is another prime example.
Yep.
Like one of the main villains for Arrow, and I forget what season, was Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, Ra's, however you want to say
Ra's al Ghul.
Which is obviously massive Batman villain.
Huge Batman villain.
You could even argue Deathstroke, I know a Teen Titans villain, yes I know, but in the modern era he's become more of a Batman-ish villain, so you could even argue that one. They even had a joke, like fans always had a joke that like Arrow was just trying to be Batman. It's like, and they're kind of doing that with Batwoman too, where it's like now they're putting like a huge Hush in there too, so it's like, if you want Batman and Batman villains so much, just make a Batman show.
Make a Batman show.
Just do a Batman show.
Make a Batman series. And I know that the argument is going to be, Batman has movies. They do it in the movies.
Yes.
And it's like, but do they? Do they though? Because yes, we got Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins.
Yes.
We did get that.
For sure.
Okay, but that was Chris Nolan's Batman, which was very different from the comics. That was the big knock on the Christopher Nolan Batman series, was that it was hyper realistic.
For sure.
He staged it very much in basically what looked like Chicago or New York City. So it was Gotham, but it wasn't the comic book version of Batman.
For sure.
And it was kind of void of a lot of the comic book elements.
Yeah, the main point for me though is it's just weird that all these villains, like, the CW verse has been doing that with almost all the shows. Like they've been bringing a lot of like Batman villains into like all of these shows and stuff like that.
Right.
That aren't. I mean, if you're gonna do it, Batwoman makes the most sense because it's at least in the Bat family. Yeah. But it's just annoying that they just keep doing it because this isn't the first episode I've done it with Arrow and so on and so forth. Now Batwoman.
But Batwoman is such a young show and we don't know what's going to happen with it. I really would have preferred to see them do it on Titans. Somehow introduce him on Titans or something like that.
For sure.
I don't know. It's just I don't know.
But even that, they're pitching that Batman's like really old apparently, like in the Titans universe. Anyway, are we excited about it? I'm personally like, eh.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of how I feel about the show in general. Yeah. Like everybody pretty much kind of universally has looked at the show and I don't want to say everybody. There are people that are excited about it, but a lot of people have been just kind of.
Well, I've been very vocal with the CW Arrowverse in general. Yeah. Like, I was a really big fan of The Flash. I knew it was cheesy and stuff. Like I kind of fell off one by one. Like, I used to watch them all. Then I fell off of DC Legends. Then I slowly fell off of Arrow. Then I fell off Supergirl. And now I'm kind of falling off of Flash. Yeah. Just because I feel like it's kind of repetitive and it's just, I don't know, it's just not working for me as much anymore. It's kind of disappointing because it was like a fun show and it kind of had like that, like it was cheesy, but it kind of knew it was cheesy, so it still kind of worked.
But here's this is my prediction. I think on all these shows, whether it's Batwoman or all these, I think they're really going to start struggling once Disney Plus starts rolling out these Marvel series.
Well, I would imagine that's the DC Universe app. That's like the Titans and Swamp Thing. That's kind of like their answer to it.
But it's like, is it? Is that going to be? Because if that's their answer to it, because the DC Universe releases, I mean, Swamp Thing got canceled after its first episode.
Which is weird because it's not a bad series.
No, I'm
enjoying it. And Doom Patrol is really good.
Doom Patrol is a fun show.
But
it's like, are they going to be able to compete with the stuff we're about to talk about coming up here in a second?
It's like almost not fair though, because that stuff that we're gonna talk about is directly tied into the movies.
That's my point. It's like Disney is setting this new standard.
Yeah, it's like apples and oranges.
Yeah, it's like how are you're gonna have to raise your game.
That's true. Well, let's just get into it.
Let's just dive in.
Movies. Let's talk about some movies here. So, first one up, we're gonna leave the best for last.
Yeah, we'll save the MCU. We'll step away and we'll come back.
Because of course we're gonna talk about Phase 4. That's like
that's the big kahuna.
Right. So, but first movie we have to talk about is The Walking Dead is getting a movie in theaters. I'm
not laughing at them. I'm laughing. Just move on.
The Walking Dead, I'll say it again, is getting a theatrical release in theaters. Now, I will say, I loved The Walking Dead. The first 4 or 5 seasons, it was one of my favorite shows ever. If you would ask me at the time, top 5, top 3 shows, like, period.
It was very good.
But then it kept going.
Yes.
And going.
And
going.
Look, I guess it can be summed up easiest this way. When the writer, the creator of the comic series that launched the show, abruptly ends the comic book, and simultaneously releases a letter saying, I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for creative ideas, there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem. For me, as a fan, this falls into the category of something that...
Beating a dead horse?
it just feels like it doesn't know where the end is.
Yes.
And that's really creates problems in storytelling.
Yes. I think any good show, or any good story, beginning, middle, end, you have to know where you're gonna end, right? Or
100%.
You can't just like Game of Thrones, one of the best shows ever. I know a lot of people with the ending and stuff like that, but they gave us some solid years there, okay? So, but if it would have kept going and going, we got season 11, 12, whatever, it would have been
it would have been a shame.
Yeah, it's just you gotta end. You gotta go out on a high. You gotta end.
The end was kind of a shame.
Yeah,
that's another story for another day.
So, but what's not whatever is the next trailer we got. Apparently it's the final trailer for It Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
It Chapter 2. This is probably my favorite horror franchise right now. I am such a fan of Pennywise the Clown.
You are a bizarrely big fan of Pennywise.
So much so that I have the Funko Pop of Pennywise on top of my refrigerator. And my wife
disturbing your children.
No,
your daughter.
My wife
I say your children like you have more than one.
I left it there for months, and I went to move it one day, And like my wife was actually offended because she got used to it. She's like, "Oh, it's my buddy." So now he just lives.
That's so dark.
So now Pennywise just lives on top of my refrigerator.
Oh, sweet Lord. Your daughter's like, Dad, please.
No, he's carrying. He's like, "You'll float too." He's got the little like paper
how
boat.
sweet.
Yeah,
That's so sweet. But I mean, the biggest thing about this movie, I think, is the cast, man.
Jessica Chastain.
Jessica Chastain.
She's so good.
Yeah, I mean, but
James McAvoy.
You have just
So
such
good.
an incredible ensemble there, of just incredible actors.
The three
And to see, because you usually don't get that.
No.
In this type of a film, you do not usually get
like those many
an
A-listers.
incredible ensemble like that. So just for that alone.
Because off the top of my head, it's Jessica Chastain, Bill Hader, and James freaking McAvoy.
Just Jessica Chastain and
alone,
James
right?
McAvoy together in a movie, in a horror movie.
Right.
It just instantly should have you go, okay.
I don't know if you've been watching Barry, but that's like freaking Bill Hader's baby. He like writes it, produces, directs, stars in.
He's a surprisingly good actor, man.
Awesome. He's so good.
And he's like one of those guys. Bill, if you ever see this, hit us up. We'd love to have you on the show.
Let's hang out.
Yeah, he seems like such a cool dude.
For
also.
sure, he does.
But yeah, man, just such a great cast. That's gonna be a fun one.
Then moving on, we have Russo brothers. They've been teasing on Instagram and social media for like the last month or so, like their Hall H panel and what their next project is gonna be. Because obviously they worked on little movies like like Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and then I think there's this movie that just became the #1 movie of all time.
It's a small little independent film.
End something.
End of Games.
End of Games.
End of Games.
It's Endgame. That's the movie.
Yeah, nobody saw it. Like 2 people.
They have the #1 grossing movie.
Yeah.
Ever.
That has to be addressed like right off the top because it finally happened. Something finally dethroned Avatar. But to see an Avengers movie become the #1 film of all time and be the one to do it,
how crazy!
It was wild, man.
You say it all the time. This is like the golden age of nerdom because
really
the #1
is.
grossing film of cinema, period, all time, is it's an Avengers movie.
And can I tell you something? I was going through it last night. Disney owns now 13. Listen to this insanity. 13 of the top 20 worldwide highest grossing films of all time. 13 out of the top 20. And the vast majority of those are Marvel or Star Wars films.
I was just going to say, because Civil War's in there, right?
Yes.
Civil War's in there. Infinity War's obviously in there.
Infinity War's in there. Captain Marvel's in there. I mean, you just have this, like you said, we are in the golden age of nerddom where again, our generations who grew up with this stuff, we have the wallets now.
We're running things.
Right. And so, it was like, you said, our parents, I joke about it all the time. You said if I could pay for it, I could have it. And well, we can pay for it now, so we're,
oh my God,
we want our
awesome
stuff.
analogy. Oh, that needs to be
That's what it is.
Okay, anyways, Russo brothers, that's how we kind of went on our tangent. They announced at their panel for Hall H that their next project they're going to be working on is Battle of the Planets.
This was hugely anticipated. Everybody was like, what are they talking about? What are they going to announce? And this was I don't know if anybody expected this one.
No, because Battle of the Planets has a cult following for sure. It's for those of you who don't know, it's an anime. It's a pretty old anime from, I believe, I'm not even going to say, I think the 80s, 70s. Don't quote me on this. It's an anime. It's an old anime.
Right.
That they're adapting into a live action movie. Now, they did say they don't know if they're going to be directing it.
Right.
They said they're going to
producing. As of right now.
But they did say, depending how pre-production goes, they might end up directing. So I don't know what is going to sway them.
We going back a couple of years, we had actually heard when they were still working on Civil War headed into Infinity War. We heard about through some back channels.
Some rumbles.
Some rumbles from some people of things that they might be getting involved in.
For sure.
That wound up not coming to fruition. But at the time, Arris, I said, it makes a ton of sense for the Russo brothers, after they're done with this Infinity Saga, to want to step away from the big studios and try to start building and creating and get involved in where they can build and create their own world.
For sure.
And this very much kind of feels like that's what they're doing.
Yeah, because again, it definitely has a following. It has a following for sure. But the mass majority of people don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So they could, they'll probably keep roots of it, like the core of it.
Right.
But they have a lot of leeway because it's not like
ton of room.
Batman where everyone knows you can't just change Batman's origin on a
Yeah.
whim. Everyone's gonna be like, oh my God, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But this, they do have a lot more.
The
leeway.
vast majority of people were scrambling trying to find out what the heck is this.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
like you said, there's people that know what it is and are fans, but the vast majority of people. So it just so much leg room
for
them to be able to world build,
Mm-hmm.
and guaranteed, in my opinion, that's what this is.
Yep.
They're looking to kind of build out their own franchise.
I'm super excited too because I'm not a big fan of the anime. I have seen several episodes here and there, like on reruns on like Cartoon Network stuff as a kid. But I do know enough to where it kind of has those vibes of like that Voltron kind of thing going on with that, like even Power Rangers, Speed Racer in the sense of style and animation. So like I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
At this point, anything the Russo brothers do.
Yeah. To be fair,
I'm on board. I'm in.
Moving on back to some superhero movie news, though, we got some animated movie news. 2 Superman themed ones. First one up, really, really dope. So as everyone who's been following the DC animated universe knows, like once or twice a year, they like to adapt their comic book storylines, like The Killing Joke, Batman Hush, which just came out. Their newest one is Superman Red Sun, which is a Russian Superman.
Yeah, which I have a special love for.
So good. It's
Superman
an Elseworld
Red
story.
Sun, yeah. I mean, because again, it kind of goes back, again, touching on the retro stuff and touching on our youth. You know, it goes back to that Cold War era and just the Ruskies and Rocky IV.
Well, not only do we get like, because the story basically is like what would happen if like Clark Kent or Kal-El landed in Russia and became like
the Kremlin.
Yeah, became like the hero for them, right? So that's what the whole like story focuses on. But because of that, we get like Russian versions of like Superman, Wonder Woman,
essentially the whole
Batman.
Yeah,
dude, his cowl is so cool. He's got like, I don't know what do you call those Russian hats where it's got like the fur right there, or whatever.
Oh, what is the name of those things?
They just look cool. I don't know. But his cowl is like made after that.
Winter hat.
Yeah, so cool.
They're winter attire.
So, but point is, everyone knows I love me some Elseworld stories. Most people do, because it's always fun to see like your favorite characters reimagined in different takes. Yeah. But this is easily one of the best Elseworld stories ever done. So the fact that they're making this an animated movie, if they do this right, like they've done many of their other animated movies, adapting them from the comics, yes.
I think this is probably gonna be dark.
I kind of has to be a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think they might go a little Gotham by Gaslight with this
especially with Batman's sacrifice. No spoilers, but there's something.
no, not at all.
But yeah, there's some cool stuff that happens in here that it's gonna be fun to see like in motion. So
I am so curious. What's the release date on that? Did we get one?
We did not get a release date. I think it is next year, though. I don't think it's going to be this year.
Okay.
So, but we got another Superman animated movie after that, which is going to be Superman Man of Tomorrow, which is an original DC animated movie, which is going to follow the early life of like Clark Kent / Superman. So think of it kind of like, they're kind of describing it as almost like a year one, like Superman year one, early life Superman, which is really fun because it's always fun. I don't think we've gotten one of those in a while, at least not in animated form for sure.
No.
So it'll be cool to see like, you know, how Superman and why Superman is Superman. Because everyone like knocks Superman because he's the most powerful hero and it's like he's unrelatable, he's got all the power. But it's really, it's so much more than that because think like if you had all that power and you could do anything you want, to choose to do good and help others and put others before you, even though you're basically a god, is like the coolest story to tell ever. Is. Because like the story of Superman isn't I have all this powers and stuff like that. It's a story of making the right choices.
It's almost like with great responsibility.
I mean,
wait, I said it backwards like a dope. With great power comes. I ruined the whole freaking. I'm sorry, America.
Big fan.
Sorry, everybody.
But no, yeah, that seems really, really cool. But with that brings us to the chunk, the big, the biggest news to probably come out of this weekend. Because well, let's be honest, every year at San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel Studios steals the show. They take the week. They take the weekend.
Well, when they show up.
When they show up, right. When they show up. But
because last year they weren't there.
No.
I will say right up before we dive into the slate, it wasn't as a big of a deal as I thought it was going to be.
Well,
was it for you?
Yes.
I mean, before we say names.
Okay. Well, here, let me say what they didn't announce first, because I was surprised they didn't announce.
The biggest surprises, yeah.
Okay, so what they didn't announce that I thought they were going to announce, which shocked me, was Spider-Man 3, because everyone knows After Far From Home, that was a huge cliffhanger. I'm not going to give spoilers for anyone who still hasn't seen it, even though it's been out for like a few weeks now. But there was a massive cliffhanger.
Yes.
That's going to have huge consequences, not just for Spider-Man, but the whole MCU.
Yeah.
Because things. But also Black Panther 2.
Black Panther.
We thought that was going to be coming too, because that movie was awesome, hugely successful. and that's not slated for, because their slate that they announced was 2020 to 2021.
Right.
So that means, are we not getting another Spider-Man movie or Black Panther movie till after that?
And that was the big surprise. That was one of the biggest surprises, along with what wasn't announced. It was they gave us 2 years.
Yes.
Right?
With no Spider-Man, no Black Panther.
And traditionally they've given us kind of their big picture, big
like 5 years
plan, right?
5, yep.
And I think that they might have learned a little bit of a lesson from when they rolled out the last slate and they had Inhumans in there, and then Inhumans became a show, and then there was no Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then that got added, and they wound up changing things around. So maybe they're saying, let's rope that back.
Right.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's a mix of that and D23 is coming up, and they wanted to hold back a little bit.
I think the D23 is it. I think they're going to do another 2 years maybe at D23.
Or at least give more detail about general direction, because there was too many big things left off the table.
Because they also touched on Kevin Feige was like, Fantastic Four is coming and X-Men is coming. But that's literally all he said. He said they're in early development. The end.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Let's just dive into what they released.
That's fair. All right, yeah, let's dive and we'll go piece by piece.
Yeah,
here.
and we'll
break it down. Because there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of information.
Right.
A lot of good things, and then there's some question marks.
Yeah. So the first thing they announced, which I will say, a lot of these we were rumored and we already pretty much knew were going to happen.
There wasn't a lot of surprises.
No, we knew that for the most part. All we were like, yeah, we figured that was already rumored.
Right.
First one being Eternals.
Yes.
Eternals, which is going to be some Jack Kirby goodness, but that is going to be the first movie next year.
Yep. And again, that's no surprise. We actually released the episode last week. Many of you guys have been jumping on that ever since Saturdays. We've been seeing a lot of you guys jumping on and watching the origin of Eternals that we put out. And so no surprise there.
Nope.
The only really big surprise was they brought on the full cast.
Yes.
So we got to see the full cast of the film.
We got some concept art, of the Celestials, which they do look a lot different from how they appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy. And in Guardians of the Galaxy, they look like ripped right out of the comics.
Straight out.
That was like just Jack Kirby's drawing on the big screen. And in the concept art here, again, it's concept art, but it's very different. They look, I don't know if they're I don't know what they're going to do with the Celestials in the MCU. I mean, they already technically appeared in the MCU, but this just looks different, and I don't know why.
Yeah, the only thing about that makes me go, I can't say I'm concerned, but that it makes it curious for me, is that typically in the past, when they've shown concept art, they've stayed pretty tight to it.
Yes, it's true.
Like, for instance, when they showed the Scrolls.
The Scrolls, Captain Marvel.
And all of that stuff.
Yeah.
They typically in the past have stayed pretty tight to the concept art they're showing the public at Comic-Con. So... But what if that's what they look like?
What if that's them without their armor or something?
It could be.
It
could be like those the big celestial beings are like suits, mech suits.
Yeah, they could change whatever. It's the MCU. They're not going to stay 100% to the comics, so they can kind of do what they want here and there.
But the idea, I guess, is that the Eternals as a whole, it really does give you an idea of how big they're looking to break that whole thing open.
Dude, well, yeah, because the whole because Kevin Feige said it on stage, much like the comic books, he said they've always been there, hiding on Earth. So it's it's going to be fun to see, what were they doing while the Thanos snapped?
It raises all those questions.
Yeah.
Where were they during all of these events? But in the comics, they're indifferent to a lot of that stuff.
That's what I was going to say. Do they not really care? Because they're gods essentially themselves. Right. They're basically gods themselves. So it's
They look down on humans.
Right. So are they?
So the plight of humans is who cares?
Are they also, because of all their power and godlike power, especially in the MCU, were they immune to all those effects? I don't know. But it's just really cool because the Eternals just opens up so much doors in the sense of that, but also you're going to get the Deviants, which, Thanos is part Deviant.
You have to imagine that that's going to come out.
We're going to get flashbacks or references of Thanos in there. So Brolin maybe still be able to reprise his role.
Which I wouldn't mind.
So that'll be really cool. But it's cool to see all three races, because also with the Celestials, if they're going to be a big part of this movie, which they have to be, because they created the Eternals, it's going to be really cool to see how that's going to work in, because the Celestials in the comics are the only reason why superpowers even exist in the Marvel Universe.
100%.
So the reason we got mutants and the Meta Gene and all that stuff. So that's going to be really cool.
And it's clearly they say, of course, they're saying that they chose and they decided to go the direction of the Eternals before they knew they were getting Fox and X-Men and Fantastic Four. But it's these negotiations were going on a long time ago. They had a pretty good, they had to have.
Plus they hinted to Celestials in other movies.
Yeah. Otherwise you would not have started moving in the direction, specifically the Eternals, where now, because that directly opens the door for explaining mutants.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's so many different directions and things that they can blast open with this movie. It explains entirely why they're leading with it because they're clearly setting a stage to go into big time as far as like the cosmic,
for
further down the cosmic road. Yeah.
I'm just so excited to see where they go with this. Like the biggest thing for me, the Eternals are cool and all, but I'm more like fascinated with the Celestials, the possibilities of that.
Because the Celestials are kind of indifferent.
Yeah.
You know.
They just like to experiment on people.
Right.
They're the god with like the fire ant analogy with the magnifying
100%.
glass. But I said first, actually, that's not the first movie we're getting next year. I believe Black Widow is. Black Widow is
yes,
May.
it is.
That is May.
Eternals is not the first movie in Phase 4.
Let me correct past
Widow. Yeah, I think both of us said that actually.
Past Arris, you were wrong. Past Tim, you were wrong.
Yeah.
So Black Widow, we're getting that in May. But that is another. They're filming that right now, actually.
Yeah. Cue rewind.
Yeah. They're filming that right now. They actually released footage at Comic-Con in Hall H, which was exclusive to the panel. But everyone is saying it's a mashup of John Wick and the Bourne movies.
Yes.
Which, yes, because
I think everybody kind of can say like right off the bat, dude. Like a Black Widow movie has been anticipated and wanted for a while for a reason. ScarJo, she is awesome.
I've been a
Black Widow.
Yes, I've been a big advocate for. I think Black Widow should have gotten a movie before Captain Marvel. Like as far as
I agree.
Like a female in the Marvel universe getting a movie, Black Widow should have got it way before Captain Marvel.
She earned it
for sure. Yeah, she's been there since she's a founding member of the Avengers in the MCU, and she's just awesome. Scarlett Johansson is just awesome as the character. But the cool thing about this movie is hearing that mashup of John Wick and Jason Bourne, which is like yes. But the villain is also Taskmaster. And everyone who reads the comics and knows his ability is he can mimic other people's like fighting styles and stuff like that.
Which is awesome.
This movie.
Honestly, I think that reveal, which is why I can't believe we actually accidentally went to the Eternals first. But that was the Taskmaster as a villain for this movie. I think that was one of the biggest surprises of the entire presentation.
It's there was rumored that he was though, because there was leaked images.
There was, but nobody knew. But the fact that they officially said
that
it was the first official word, like this Taskmaster is in this movie.
Yeah,
that was a big drop.
It's definitely a fan favorite villain for sure.
No doubt.
So he's in the video game, the PS4 video game. He's in the new Avengers video game that's coming out, and now he's in Black Widow movie. So I think he's gonna be one of those characters that people are gonna like. Oh, he's a thing, and people are gonna start liking this character a lot more.
And it's set in timeline-wise. It's set after the events of Civil War.
Yes.
So
it's really cool.
It's getting a Black Widow spy movie with Taskmaster as villain. That's just gonna be. I'm all in.
I'm very, very excited for this. So yeah.
So it starts with that.
It starts with that.
And then we go to Eternals.
Then we get the Eternals.
So we're getting Black Widow in May of 2020, and then we're getting the Eternals in November of 2020.
Yes.
Right.
As far as the movies go.
As far as the movies.
Because in between that, we're getting some shows that are going to be in continuity with the MCU because Disney Plus, those of you who don't know, Disney Plus is going to kick up the end of this year, and Marvel Studios will have several shows on there that literally pull the actors from the MCU to reprise their roles in these limited series, essentially.
Yes.
And tell more stories that they can't tell on the big screen.
So you have, and this is another thing I wanted to address too, is you've got all these people saying, wow, Marvel's got 7 movies coming out in 2021. They don't. You've got Black Widow.
Okay.
And then we've got, which will be in May of 2020. And then in the fall of 2020, we're going to get Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's going to immediately follow.
Okay.
And then from there, we're getting Eternals, then Shang-Chi, then WandaVision. But the point is that we're not getting 7 movies.
Right.
We're getting series. We're getting live action series and 1 animated series, the What If series. So, but that's all going to tie in. So we're really only getting, and this is what was kind of falls into what we're talking about as far as the big surprise of the panel. They only announced 5 movies.
Yeah, 5 movies and 5 shows.
That's it.
5 movies, 5 shows.
They announced 5 actual MCU films.
Only.
Yeah, but traditionally, again, they've released a much larger slate and a much broader timeline.
Well, I think because the shows, like Kevin Feige said, they're making up for that because you're still getting content.
Filling in gaps,
for sure.
Right. So they're all in continuity. They're with the actual original cast members.
For sure.
So they're going to be, so like Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be after the events of Endgame.
Yes. As Kevin Feige said, it's going to follow like how Falcon is becoming Captain America, essentially. Like how that's
going to happen. Transition stage. Because he's going to eventually get his own solo film.
Yes.
As Falcon Cap.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to see that transition, which is awesome.
So in 2020, we got 2 movies, 1 show.
Correct.
So we got Black Widow, Eternals, and then in between that, we have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Right.
Which
that's going to be a great
Falcon.
The buddy cop thing. Yeah.
I just think of that one scene in Civil War where they're in the back of like the Beetle. Yeah. Like he's like, move over. No. It's just like this perfect. Or they're laying on the ground after they get beat up by Spider-Man. I hate you.
Yes. And that chemistry, I think, from Civil War is what prompted this show.
For sure.
They just got good chemistry on screen. And then this is following Eternals. You got Falcon, Winter Soldier, Eternals, and then one of the ones I'm most excited about. We knew was coming. Again, no surprise.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi. But the Legend of the Ten Rings. And the thing, this is it for me, guys. They announced officially we're finally getting the real Mandarin.
Which is dope. Because I love how that happened, too. Because in Iron Man 3, when they're like, oh, the Mandarin's actually just a persona, it's fake. And then all the Marvel fans were pissed. So like, no. You see, what happened is we're going to do a short film called All Hail the King. And that's going to reveal that the real Mandarin's actually pissed that this guy was pretending to be the Mandarin. So, yeah, no.
Yeah. It was just like a whole bunch of Marvel fans screaming, take it back! At the same time.
And
they listened.
But what's cool about Shang-Chi, even I know the Ten Rings and all that stuff, and Mandarin's awesome, one of the coolest Marvel villains. But to me, personally, even better than that, is Shang-Chi is literally considered to be the best fighter in all of the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
Like, so you're making a movie with the best fighter in all of the Marvel Universe.
And
all of it.
I'm a huge Kung Fu fan. Dude. So, like, just to begin with. So this one was already, like, a highlight for me going in. But then to hear that they're actually diving into Mandarin's mythos and the Ten Rings. To learn that there was 10 rings teased in the first Ant-Man movie and as an Easter egg and nobody picked up on it. It's just freaking great.
Yeah,
But that's going to be, I'm so amped for that one.
The next one up in spring of 2021, which is going to be a show, Disney Plus.
Yep, another Disney Plus streaming show.
WandaVision, which, I mean, Scarlet Witch has become one of my favorite characters in the MCU. And then Paul Bettany's Vision is just awesome. So it's like, yes.
I'm really curious about this one. Specifically because of Vision.
Okay.
And to see what they're going to do with Vision.
How are they going to bring him back?
Are they going to bring him back fully? Is it going to be some kind of a construct of Wanda's? I don't know. That is my big question about that one. I'm very curious.
They didn't really dive into that too much.
They did not.
No.
And
most
even
of the stuff
timeline, they kind of they gave a little idea of the timeline.
Yeah.
But not much about the story.
No. So there's really not much to say about this one, minus the fact that
although they did say that Monica Rambeau.
Yes.
We're getting the older version.
So you would imagine it well, no, because Captain Marvel was a prequel, was in the 90s. So
it was in the 80s.
Or Captain Marvel was in the 90s?
Was it in the 90s?
It was 90s, yeah.
90s.
Blockbuster. That's all I know.
The two big question marks for that one for me are, what are they going to do with Vision?
Mm-hmm.
What is that really going to explore fully? And then how and what are they going to be? How are they going to be integrating Monica Rambeau, the older version of Monica Rambeau, who is now probably 20 years older? Mm-hmm. So I'm really curious about that one. And the events that happen in WandaVision directly tie into the Doctor Strange sequel.
That is true. The Doctor Strange sequel, the Multiverse of Madness?
In the Multiverse of Madness.
This Black Widow, I'm looking for, I don't know. This is definitely one of my most anticipated ones.
This is my second. It's tied with Shang-Chi for my second favorite announcement of the.
I love Doctor Strange, but the fact that Scott Derrickson, the director of the movie, said this is going to be the MCU's first horror film.
Yes.
I am so in.
That was a little bit of it was like a twist. A little twist there.
Because what he told me in that statement is multiverse, madness, scary things, horror film.
And Benedict Cumberbatch specifically said that they are going to deconstruct Stephen Strange in this film. So they're kind of tearing him down and beating him down a little bit. Which in the comics is what has to happen for him to become the Sorcerer Supreme.
How scary are they going to go with it? Because you got to think like The Others is PG-13.
Yep.
The Ring is PG-13. The Grudge is PG-13. Yep. So you can go pretty dang scary.
You can go dark.
So it's like, Oh man.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of say. I said previous to the Shang-Chi. I like how this is gonna be a horror movie. That's a kung fu movie. Like
such a wide variety.
Yes. And I want it in multiverse. And Scarlet Witch?
Scarlet Witch
is also
going to be in this film, which only adds to that dark element,
dude,
of magic and sorcery and
I am
potential.
And I love that Marvel's realizing, the MCU is realizing how cool Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen is a Scarlet Witch, because they're she's getting her own series on Disney Plus. She's now in Doctor Strange. They're like, put her in everything. She's awesome. I'm like, yes, put her in everything.
Well, I love too that they're allowing certain characters like Scarlet Witch, because you know how I feel about what they did with the Hulk in the MCU.
I've been very vocal about that.
I am a huge fan of the Russos. I love everything they did. My only beef has been how they kind of reduced the Hulk to a side character, and he's still in a sling. People, he's in a doggone sling. Hulk he's got one of the most powerful healing factors in all of comics, and he's in a sling with a burned arm. That's another story. So, but with Scarlet Witch, they went the opposite route, and they really kind of let her turn loose to show how strong and powerful she actually is. So I expect her to play in this movie. She's probably going to play a huge role.
But going out of that, fan favorite, spring 2021, one of probably the favorite villain of
easily.
The MCU.
I mean, well, Thanos might give him a run now.
Yeah, that's true. But Tom Hiddleston, Loki's getting his own series. Everyone knows that in Endgame, when they went back in time, the Loki from Avengers 1 took the Tesseract and went back in time somewhere. Where did he go? This show's going to answer that. The coolest thing to me about this is that Kevin Feige pointed out that now everyone knows Loki, because Loki's evolved over the course of the MCU over the last 10 years. He was a villain, then he basically became an anti-hero / hero towards the end, right? Like a full-on good guy.
Right.
But this Loki hasn't evolved yet.
Correct.
This is Avengers 1 Loki. This is the villain, God of Mischief Loki. I don't like you. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm a villain.
Yeah.
And that's the Loki we're getting in this series.
Which is the best version of Loki.
Which is awesome.
That's the best version of Loki.
That is really cool, because I knew that, but when someone points it out and puts it into perspective, you're like, oh no, that's right. Yeah, this Loki hasn't evolved. That's going to be really cool. Yeah. So this is probably the show I want to say I'm most excited for, because the next one we're gonna bring up in a second has a little run for the money here. It's
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I would agree.
But I love Loki, so that might be my most anticipated.
Loki is going to be a good one. That's going to be really fun. That again, just touching on how they got to this show, that is one of the big things, just going a brief second on Endgame, that was one of the things that I respected so much about what the Russos were able to do with Endgame.
They were setting up for a future.
Is how many different things they had to do in one movie. And people said, oh, it was slow here, it was slow there. And yeah, but think about how much they had to set up. They had to close and wrap up so many different storylines, so many different character arcs, while simultaneously setting up for all of these series.
For sure.
On the new Disney streaming service. And it was and for them to be able to do all of that while kicking open some doors for the next phase, and for it to still be a wildly entertaining and just killer wrap up to the Infinity Saga.
So much to think about. Again,
Respect my dudes.
I want to see their whiteboards and timelines. Just insane. But speaking of TV shows, we got another one on the list, because again, there's 5.
Yep.
Summer 2021. We're getting before I say what it is. You guys know I say it all the time. I love Elseworld stories and stuff like that, but I love it because it gives you what would that be like if it went that way, or what would this alternate version of this character be like if put in that scenario. Marvel's comics to their Elseworld type stuff, I guess you could say, would be What If.
What If.
Their What If series, which has been around forever. It's what if this happened? What if Captain America didn't get a shield? What if Thor couldn't lift the hammer? What if this,
Right.
What if whatever scenario they want to do, right? What if Spider-Man didn't get the symbiote suit? And they're doing that, but it's an animated show. It's an animated series, meaning animation, you can do whatever you want.
Anything.
Budget's not really a thing. You could blow up whatever you want, put as many people as you want, and they're using, what is it, I don't even know the number, but all of the original voice.
All of Hollywood.
To voice these characters. So
all of the original characters, all the original actors are going to come back to voice the characters. And if you saw the lineup,
dude,
did you see that?
They posted it. Yeah.
It's literally something like 30 different
So a Falcon,
actors.
If they do a What If with Falcon, Anthony Mackie is going to voice Falcon. Insane.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you spotted this. I actually saw this earlier this morning. Now, the What If logo they released itself has comic images inside of the thing.
Inside the panel.
And someone, on the internet, as the internet does, they gotta look into everything, zoomed in on the top left-hand corner of the W. And once they zoomed in on it, we see a Marvel zombie.
Really?
A zombie version of Captain America, to be exact. Ooh. So does that mean we're going to get a what if in a Marvel Zombies scenario?
Oh, see, now you're going to have me looking.
Dude, a what if.
That's crazy.
Animated Marvel Zombies.
I can see it's right. For those of you who are wondering where it is, it's right inside the W.
It's so cool. So Marvel Zombies, guys. Everyone knows that's one of the best stories Marvel's done in the last decade or so. It's just fun. It's Marvel Zombies. Marvel characters as zombies. Come on.
There's just so much room for activities.
You could just do anything.
Show.
With what if you could do anything.
anything.
So cool. So cool.
And that's why Disney. I'm telling you, Disney is they are about to break the world.
What you're saying is
with their
buy Disney stock.
We do not make stock recommendations on this show. To not violate federal regulations. We do not make stock recommendations on Variant.
Don't buy stock.
Don't
do what you want.
Do what you want.
Do what you want.
Do what you want. But their streaming service, they are going to set a new bar, man. Everybody is going to be chasing behind them. If you see what they're doing and how they're doing it, you're already seeing the other bigs like Netflix and Amazon. They're kind of scrambling to try and figure out how are we. It's so many different IPs, but just with what they're doing with Marvel alone, it's just never been done.
For sure. Which brings us to something, the
next piece of that.
The next piece of that, and their last movie for the last two.
Well, series.
Last TV series, I should say. The last TV series that they announced, which is going to be Hawkeye. And I will say, I'm excited, but it's probably on the bottom of my list as far as what they announced. It's not that I don't like Hawkeye. It probably could be really cool. It's just, he's not one of my favorite characters. You know what I mean? So it's a personal thing. But the show, I'm going to watch it, obviously. Anything they release, I'm going to watch. But what's really cool is Kate Bishop is going to play a prominent role in this series. So is Hawkeye going to because again, they teased that
very much
in Endgame, at the very beginning of Endgame, where he's doing the bow and arrow thing.
This very much feels like that transition
passing of the torch.
Yep. Where Kate, and that for me was the big one.
Does that mean we're going to get Young Avengers soon? Is that the next Avengers
Is that
movie?
one of the things they're holding back?
Young Avengers?
Is that maybe at the end of Phase 4? By the end of Phase 4, we have a full slate for a new Avengers? I mean, you're definitely getting the hints at that, but they're hinting so many things. It's so hard. I mean, for instance, we know there's 3 movies coming in 2022. They announced it on their,
It's got to be Black Panther.
On their investors meeting.
It's got to be Black Panther too.
They announced 3, but they haven't. They didn't touch on those. But Kate Bishop was, I think, a very cool ad there. Oh, and about the what if too. One of the other things we didn't mention is that the Watcher is going to narrate.
Yes, the Watcher.
That's a big part of the what if.
What's really cool is that's how it's like he's a big part of the comics as well, 100%. Obviously, because he's the one who's
comic.
Yeah, so
you're going to have the Watcher being voiced by Jeffrey Wright, who, if you know Jeffrey Wright, if you watch Westworld.
Yes.
Right? Jeffrey Wright is an awesome actor, but he's got the perfect voice.
Which is crazy. This won't be the first time we see the Watchers, though. We saw the Watchers in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. They were up there with Stan Lee. So it's pretty cool that now we will see them basically, I guess, narrate or set up each episode of the series, which is really dope.
I digs.
But the last thing, well, not the last thing they announced. The last thing they have on their slate of images and logos.
Yes.
I will say, because there's one more thing after this.
There's one more thing, but the one thing they went into detail
they went into detail
on their slate.
They did, is November 2021, Thor, Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder.
Directed by
Taika Waititi.
Yep.
Is
Thor
back.
4, essentially. He's back of Thor Ragnarok fame.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's doing Thor 4. The big thing about this movie is that Jane Foster, Natalie Portman, will become Lady Thor.
Lady Thor in
this movie.
That was the big surprise. Because at first everybody thought, oh, Natalie Portman's back. Jane Foster is going to make a return. And then, nope, she's going to be Thor.
Which is really cool because Taika said in the thing, he's a big fan, obviously. If he's doing these Thor movies, obviously he's got to stay in touch with the source material. Jason Aaron just came off of this epic run, The Mighty Thor. Yep. And part of that was Jane Foster becoming Thor. And it's really it's got me more curious than anything because it's just the concept is so cool. So the concept of Jane becoming, I guess, a Thor is during the time she has cancer, right? She has cancer and she's going through chemotherapy, but she becomes worthy to possess the power of Thor. The problem is every time she wields Thor and becomes Thor, wields the hammer and becomes Thor, it like washes away the chemotherapy. So every time she becomes a hero, essentially, she's killing herself.
She's dying a little bit.
She's dying a little bit. So
Right.
she's making the choice to put others before her every time she picks up the hammer and becomes Thor. So I think that if they go that route, there's a lot of cool things to play with it. Story-wise, and that could be really interesting.
Yeah, and it also seems like Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie is going to play. Valkyrie's going to play a big role in this one too.
Yeah, she's ruling Asgard.
And this is my big question mark on Love and Thunder, the Thor 4, is we ended Endgame, and Thor is with the Guardians, going off into space.
Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Asgardians of the Galaxy, and they're headed off into space. And they're saying that Thor: Love and Thunder takes place before the events of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So how does he get from there? How do we see him now back with Valkyrie? And
I mean, it could be something as simple as like the Guardians like drop them off at Asgard, or the new Asgard or whatever.
Well, New Asgard's on Earth.
Yeah,
they left Earth. They were leaving Earth. So I'm very curious to see
the new Asgard?
How they make. I'm really curious to see how they kind of transition all that back. And bring that kind of full circle to where why Jane Foster ends up getting imbued. My kind of theory is that they're going to move in the direction of Thor becoming the new Odin and being imbued with the total Odin force, and
And we got to remember, Thor still has Stormbreaker, so he's always going to have because there's rumors
he has the past Mjolnir.
Yeah,
Mjolnir from the past. He stole that sucker.
Well, he gave it back. Remember, Cap took it back.
Oh, that's right. Cap took it back, so he doesn't even have.
So he just got Stormbreaker. But in the comics, again, who is the original wielder of Stormbreaker, and who was Stormbreaker made for?
Beta Ray Bill.
Exactly. So you got to imagine they're going to introduce him eventually
at some point.
So does that mean he has to take Stormbreaker from Thor? And at which point, if Jane Foster is Thor and she has Mjolnir, and then he gives Stormbreaker to Beta Ray Bill, what happens to Thor?
My theory is he becomes Odin.
He becomes Odin?
He becomes Odin.
Yeah?
He becomes, and that's also where he steps off. I think that's his step.
Because he has been playing for 10 years, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, we're going to see potentially a storyline where he becomes essentially like the All-Father.
Right.
And that's his stepping off point as far as a major character.
For sure.
And that hands off to Beta Ray Bill and possibly Jane Foster Thor?
I mean,
because we still don't know how does she get Mjolnir.
I mean, we're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out a lot of things. So this one falls kind of low on the rung for me. I'll say honestly, everybody has different opinion on. A lot of people were huge fans of Thor Ragnarok and the style they took with that. I personally wasn't. It wasn't really my cup of tea. I'm a huge Hulk fan.
Right.
And I wasn't a fan of the direction they went with Hulk.
Because he wasn't Hulk smash.
Yeah, and they were pulling from the World War Hulk storyline, and that's such a cool story,
right,
by our boy.
Oh, you're talking about you weren't a fan of him in Thor Ragnarok, is what you're saying. You're not just talking about Endgame in general.
Yeah, no, the direction they started going with him, starting with Thor and Ragnarok,
right,
where he kind of became like this childlike,
It was the first Avengers movie.
Kind of a comic relief.
The first Avengers movie, awesome. Even Age of Ultron, awesome. It was after that they started to change him into like...
Yeah, it was like they started building up to where you started kind of feeling like we're going to get, real savage Hulk at some point. And then they decided to change. It was the Russo brothers really, they kind of made the decision that the Hulk wasn't going to play a main part of the storyline. So he kind of started becoming comic relief.
Just kind of sad because Hulk smash.
It's the Hulk, guys.
Smash.
It's the Hulk. And because we're also not going to get a Hulk solo movie, that's the only place we can get it.
Yeah, I don't know the next time we're going to see the Hulk, which is unfortunate.
So but
Hulk
that's
solo series, Disney Plus,
dude,
and it's called Hulk Smash.
Listen, stop getting my hopes up because it's not going to happen. But I don't know.
You said it's not going to happen, but that brings us to something we definitely think wasn't going to happen.
Oh well, some people were calling it.
Some people were calling it,
but this was the big surprise of the panel.
Because a lot of these movies, like we said that we just mentioned in shows, they were rumored and we more or less knew. They just confirmed them.
Yes.
But this one came out of... This was pretty much came out of nowhere.
This was the mic drop.
So Kevin Feige calls, I forget his name. Mahershala Ali out on stage. Where at this point, so if you're there, you watch the video, basically they announced at this point that all the audience in Hall H is getting Black Widow hats. Right. So they're all putting on the hats. The cast and crew.
Black Widow hats. They call everybody out from all the movies. They're doing their group photo.
They got Black Widow hats. But then they're like, hey, we also have someone else joining the MCU.
Yeah.
And then Ali comes out.
Academy Award winner.
He comes out and he's holding a black hat. And everyone, initially like, oh, he's going to put on a hat. But then Kevin Feige comes over. He's like, hey, do you want to put on your hat?
Yeah, he's like, you brought your own hat,
brought your
didn't
own
you?
hat, right? You want to put on yours? So he opens it up. He puts it on his head, and lo and behold,
It says
Blade. It says Blade on his hat.
And then up on the screen behind them,
the Blade
logo.
Freaking, he is playing the Daywalker.
Oh man,
We're getting a Blade movie almost out of nowhere, it seems.
And if you don't know who Mahershala Ali is, this is who he is. Okay, and he is one of the best actors in Hollywood right now.
Best casting.
But it is a perfect casting.
Best
as
casting.
soon as they announced it, it was like the most obvious. Like, yes, of course,
dude,
he is the one who should
so
play
intimidating
Blade.
with the fangs.
Yeah, he's
and
got
the
a great voice
sword
for
on his
it.
back.
He's got a great look. He's a big guy.
be
He's
so
tall. Man, that's gonna be freaking awesome.
It's gonna be.
And it made me wonder: Are we gonna get the Marvel Studios' first R-rated film with that?
Oh, that's a very, very good question because it could easily be R.
Easily, just the violence alone.
Oh man,
This was the big surprise.
He's gonna be on his motorcycle.
I know it's gonna be. I cannot wait to see him just flying around, just fighting, killing vampires with his katana. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is too, he literally put on the hat, said nothing, and then they hugged people, and they walked off stage
out like a boss.
That was it. And everyone's just like, oh. So we're getting a Blade. We don't know what year.
We don't know. No timeline.
We don't know nothing.
No timeline.
It could be in the.
That could be one of the 2022.
It could. It could be in. Or
we don't know.
It could also be in 2020, 2021. We don't know.
And it might be. It's because the question is this going to be a one-off? Is this going to be for Marvel, or are they introducing him into the broad continuity?
He's got to be in the broad continuity. It's Blade.
I mean, I would love to see it.
We don't get a trilogy. We haven't even got a first one yet. But if we don't get a Blade trilogy movie, it's Blade.
There's just so many different directions that I'm very excited to see where Marvel ends up going with all of this. And I think we got more news coming.
We do
next month.
D23 for sure. Yeah. But I mean,
because again, we didn't even touch on Fantastic Four. No. And at the end, he's all done. He said we didn't have time to talk about the Fantastic Four
or the
Guardians or mutants. So he throws out just drops mutants out and then just walks off stage.
Well, yeah, he confirmed that Fantastic Four and X-Men are in early development.
Right.
So maybe D23. I don't know.
We might find out more.
I don't know, but I guess that brings our discussion to a wrap because I guess that's it. As if as if we weren't here talking forever about all this stuff.
But that wraps up San Diego Comic-Con 2019 as far as all the big highlights, comics, television, movies.
We know
there's collectibles too, but that's just a whole other ballpark.
There's so many Marvel Legends released.
So many things.
We're getting a Strong Guy Build-A-Figure. We're getting a Bro Thor Build-A-Figure. They're doing a Cosmic Ghost Rider vehicle for Marvel Legends.
Oh yes.
Sideshow released so much.
Sideshow released Hot Toys.
Hot Toys. Chris O'Donnell, Robin from Batman Forever. Say what you will. I know the movie's not great. It has it's tied to my heart. I love it. Nostalgia. Yeah. I want that figure.
If nothing else, is a novelty.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so cool.
And they actually released. They're releasing some Hot Toys. Those were pretty cool
I want that too.
A Pennywise. So there's a ton of really great collectibles that were unveiled there too. It's too much to get in at once.
So clearly there's stuff we didn't talk about, but I mean you're talking about 4 days worth of content from hundreds of different companies and studios. Yeah. So this was just the highlights and things.
This is the mecca of nerddom.
Yeah, just our highlights. But that's gonna wrap it up for our San Diego Comic-Con 2019 recap of sorts, and we hope you guys like the new format. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I think it's gonna add a cool dynamic to the channel.
Yeah, I mean, just this first one. I mean, obviously we talk a lot. When we get into this stuff, we get going. It's gonna be a lot of fun going forward, I think.
Exactly. So expect some cool stuff like the podcast coming on the channel soon, as well as some other stuff we may or may not have in development cool new stuff that's gonna be rolling out in the months to come.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff that's on deck, and some hopefully in the next 6 to 12 months, we're gonna have some pretty cool news we're gonna be rolling out to you guys periodically.
But with all that said, as I always leave you guys, I'll see you guys next time when we talk about all things comics.